morning, everybody. Welcome, and to the others, welcome back to In Touch Podcast, and we're on our sixth episode. So, we're gonna have quite a topic ngayong umaga. So, kung ano man ang mga inumin niyo dyan, kape, or tsaa, hot chocolate, milk, bring it out na. Choose your weapon kasi we're gonna do this discussion. So, kami ang makakasama niyo this morning. Papakilala na kami. So, I'll go ahead first. So, my name is Me-Ann Bojador. You can call me Me-Ann. I've been with In Touch since September of 2019. I'm the advocacy coordinator. And siguro a little bit about me. Just want to share. Sarap yung manggang dilaw. Yun. And sa umaga, masarap kumain ng ensalada, tsaka mainit na malunggay pandesal. So, sino man ang mga may ganyang breakfast na yun, ingit ako. Kasi hindi yan ang breakfast ko ngayon. Pero, yun, it's me. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Miss Me-Ann. Yeah, so ako naman magpapakilala next. I'm Hannah. I'm also part of InTouch since last year, perhaps. And originally, I was a part of Silakbo Philippines. So it's kind of like a mental health advocacy. That's how I found out about InTouch Community Services. And then most of my advocacy work is being done here now. So thank you so much for tuning in this morning. And I'd like to throw the ball to Dakila.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dakila, and I started volunteering with In Touch just this March. I learned about it from a certain nonprofit before. I was volunteering also with another nonprofit based in Nigeria on mental health. And I'm also studying about mental health. So I'm really enjoying volunteering once in a while with In Touch. And Isay?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I've been with In Touch also since last year, like Hannah. I've had opportunity to help them in terms of youth advocacy programs. So I've been in the tech side, doing the webinars, little behind the scenes. I've learned about the InTouch actually from one of my classmates in MA. She's a volunteer here as well. So I saw a post in her Facebook and I'm like, oh, I want to volunteer as well. So I also volunteer in other organizations in social-emotional needs, something like that. So being a mental health advocate, I've been with a school before where I worked. Of course, there's inclusivity in that school. So that's where I actually started studying, going into counseling and more into, because I used to work in HR. So it's more like into the mental health, when the school had that advocacy strategic plan to have an inclusive education. So that's actually what pushed me to go into this. And now being a volunteer, it's like sort of it's like parang it's not just for work, but it's also for fun, connecting with a lot of people and meeting a lot of different people and doing a lot of work just like this.
That's right.
So, I guess we're gonna our topic is about the stigmatizing mental health. Siguro, let's start talking about why do we even have to stigmatize it. Syempre, first of all, there is a stigma around it. Meron tayong nararanasan na parang doesn't sit well with how mental health should be addressed personally and then sa community. Pero you guys share what it's like for you? Kung ano yung experiences nyo dun sa stigma? Yeah, like any personal experience or with others?
Yeah, for me, I think what really piqued my interest about this is Of course, having experience also anxiety when you're studying, also other kind of things, especially you are in COVID situation. So, I mean, I think it's really important to normalize the situation. I think for me, I'm quite fortunate because many of the professors that I'm studying with are also normalizing the situation. They themselves would say, I have anxiety attack and all that. They try to normalize it to students that it's okay. And we are in this abnormal situation. Everybody's experiencing it. By speaking up about it, then we open up the discussion about it. Sadly, in some field, there's also particular stigma, especially, for example, if you're studying, say, medicine, or you're training to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and you yourself are experiencing this. You cannot easily say or open up, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to practice clinically or do some research about it. So there's that particular taboo. And many of my classmates are also saying the same thing, like in their own field, very stressful. You're training to be, you're going for residency and all that. And they cannot speak up about it. There's this particular, how should I say, like, it's closeted because of that still stigma within the profession who are, working about it. So for me, it's like, okay, how do we open up the discussions about this? Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderfully said, Dakila. So, I guess in my case, what I think about the stigma about mental health is that for other aspects, like when I say LGBT, it's more about
Yeah.
people are afraid of what they don't know, right? But I think with mental health, it's not that people don't know. They have like a misconception of what mental health is or what psychology is. And
That's
I think
right.
that's shaped by movies, I don't know with you guys, but I guess
Stereotype, that's
particularly
true.
for, right? In movies, mostly ang pinapakita doon yung mga psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia, multiple personality disorders, right? And then eventually, kapag ano rin, aside from the movies and the media, I guess in real life then, sa school or sa workplace, when somebody says na I'm feeling depressed or I have depression, some people tend to veer away from that person at first kasi like, oh my gosh, pag depressed, ibig sabihin suicidal na siya, or like very negative siya na person.
That's
Or
right.
hindi, parang iaano nga na, hindi, okay lang yan. Like, it's just it's just a mindset. You just have to do something. You just have to think positively. Toxic positivity, that's where it
Right.
comes in. And I guess another thing is, ito na, medyo mag-share ako ng konti. I grew up in a kind of like spiritual background, with a Christian family. And sometimes I don't want to offend anyone. I hope this is a safe space. We just really want to talk about, real stuff here, what's happening. Some Christians would say that, what your sadness is maybe a spiritual manifestation of something. You just have to pray it out. And
Yeah.
sometimes some people would think now, okay, maybe it's just a lack of faith. And then they would start feeling like they have this defect in them. So I guess that's how it usually starts, or that's how the stigma arises, because yung mga mental health issues and emotions, hindi siya na-address properly. But instead, it's framed in a different way. So that's it for me so far.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because like people who experience it are getting ostracized instead of getting the help that they need. And so there's the culture, the belief system that influences it, and there's also the stigma within the profession themselves who are treating it or addressing it. What else?
I guess siguro
What
it
are
starts with the family, no? Parang sometimes
family?
kasi we hear people like for me, no, I'm naturally an introvert. So usually I just go just read books, and sometimes I really don't want to be with people. Sometimes I used to say I don't like to people today, and I mean, I don't want to badmouth my family, but sometimes they would tell me, oh, ayun ka na naman, nagkukulong ka na naman, or may sariling mundo ka na naman. Pero, but this is how I am, no? And this is how I take my break, no? My mental health break. And for my family, because they know that, I work in this field, so they parang for me, they know that I wouldn't be offended by it, no, because I can take it. But for some people, it's not the same, like, especially if it's kids, no, they saying, no, this is how I feel sad, I feel stressed, and then the family would dismiss it. Parang it's really disheartening to hear, especially teenagers talking about, no, sabi ng nanay ko ganito, nag-iinarte lang, ganyan. And it's really, it's for someone to hear that, it's really difficult to hear that people telling stories na ganito coming from their own families. I guess, maybe, if there are signs like that, or children or teenagers are expressing that they have this kind of emotions or these thoughts, it would help if the family would also be first understanding, no, listening to it, and not just simply dismiss it. Kasi, di ba, you're the first support network that we are, kumbaga, that we rely on. And these are the people that you love and that you trust. And you open up to them because you feel safe. And I do hope that, everybody would have that safe space in their own family. But sadly, it's not happening. So I guess the stigma also comes from that. And then the family would not want to discuss it sa ibang tao, o huwag kami ingay pag may ibang tao, sasabihin niya, ganyan. I mean, it's really, it's sad, no? And that is this in the day and age, may mga ganun pa rin. Even, probably because in my generation, I'm not a millennial anymore, no? So, may traditional, no, concept of what should be and shouldn't be said outside of the family.
Wow.
Ayun.
I can relate to that so much.
Actually, I agree with all of you. Parang, andun talaga, I like what you said, Hannah, na parang, it's not that they don't know, there's just a misconception. And then, nag-start din siya sa family talaga, like what Isay said na. And then, like what you said, Dakila, yung culture natin kasi hindi siya, I don't want to imply na masama yung culture natin. It's just that hindi ata, I think sa culture natin, it's not comfortable na pag-usapan yung mga ganitong bagay. So, I guess if I may share, yung, kasi I experienced yung stigma on mental health in two different ways kasi. Growing up kasi as a kid, ang kinalakihan ko mostly female na kinds of relatives and family. During that time, napag-uusapan yung mga seryosong bagay. Even if it's not mental health, anything serious or sensitive, madaling pag-usapan within, yung circle. Akala mo may safe space ka, but then the next thing you know, I don't want to say that this is for everybody. It's just yung personal kong kinalakihan na you thought you're safe, and then nalalaman mo na lang, alam na ng kapitbahay ng kapitbahay. Mga ganong kind of, parang it's not really a safe space. So parang there's a fear of judgment. So may ganong factor. And then high school and then college naman, I grew up, friends are mostly male naman. So andun yung mas sensitive sila about talking about mental health. So to the others who are listening to In Touch podcast, if you heard of our previous episode in men's mental health, you should look into it. It's interesting din. Pero yun, parang I learned na parang pag hindi malalim ang inuman, hindi mo pag-uusapan yung mga seryosong bagay. parang kasi di ba parang ganun yung mga conversations na usually love life. Pero habang lumalalim, nagiging politika, mga ganyan, magiging
True.
existential. So, pag hindi pa nare-reach yung sagad na sagad, hindi na-bring up yung personal problems about my mental health, pinagdadaanan ako na hindi nila ma-explain. So, parang dalawa lang yung nagiging choice mo, either yun nga. Kasi, hindi, yun pala, sorry. Nawala ako. Kasi, with the male culture ng friends ko, just on my personal experience, very high yung discomfort when talking about mental health that tinatry nilang i-diffuse with laughter. So, minsan umaabot sa point na kaming mga kaibigan ko, umaabot sa point na pati yung tao mismo na pagtatawanan or nagiging point ng laughter. So parang hindi mo parang naaano ka talaga, nakakama ka na wag mag-share. So yeah, it's the difficulty na parang it's not that they don't know kasi mental health is for everybody. Parang everyone has some level of experience naman on mental health issues. Pero yung misconception lang din talaga and then how it's treated, parang, yun nga, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
I agree with that, especially dun sa cultures, work culture. We always have to show this particular strength. I'm resilient. We always use the word resilience. And also, especially kung you're working sa STEM field, engineering, tech,
Right.
or there's this particular male dominance, you have to be alpha, you have to be in control of the situation. If you're not in control, then you're weak, you're vulnerable, then, So I think those kind of culture adds to the stress that we are already experiencing, especially in the middle of pandemic. I think we have to be more forgiving or understanding. And I'm also talking about myself because I'm sometimes easily get stressed out and all that. But acknowledging that is really important, and also understanding the different factors involved in our mental health. Other people would say that, oh, the mental health is not really related to what is going on around us, the environmental, psychosocial factors, but these are really interlinked biologically in us. So starting a conversation, I think, is really important.
And I can see, no, yung sinasabi nga ni Dakila na parang we have to put a mask on, no, na parang I have to be strong, I have to put up this front. But then, when you think about it, that's also one way of parang putting a stigma into it, no? I mean, that's my personal opinion na parang the more you don't express yourself, the more you hide it, the more that you also invite this kind of, I don't want to say attack, but in some form, no, parang, it's you're like inviting people to talk behind your back kasi, para bang, why not be upfront about it? Then, like, for example, when you go to, like say, a doctor, diba, that's what we're saying, meron po akong diabetes or meron po akong hypertension, no? So, and even when you go to the pharmacy, you would buy medicine for hypertension. It's just like casual, because I have this, this hypertension, I have diabetes, so I'm buying this medicine. But then, when you don't hear people say, oh, I'm buying this medicine because I have depression or this is for my depression. It's really, I guess it's because of the stigma that they don't speak up about it. But I'm really, really proud of those people because I've seen mga webinars where the speakers are those who have experienced depression, anxiety, bipolar. And I'm really amazed that they have the strength to share their stories and as well as encourage everyone to talk about what they're feeling. No? So especially with this kind of culture nga, no? I mean, even in school, in the workplace, we all have experienced what Dakila is experiencing. I'm sure our audience are also, having those kind of experience one way or another. So I guess, yeah, just talking about it, no? But then I understand what Nili is saying na para bang when you talk about it, papag-usapan ka or you become the laughing stock of even your friends, no? So, like for me, I guess sabi ko nga, whenever they say, because I always hear, well, from other people, no, even my family members would say, oh, ayan ka na naman, sarili mundo ka na naman, autistic ka ba? Parang, so what I'm trying to tell them is, so parang alam na, lecture ka na oh, ang autism, ganito siya, ganyan, ganyan. So, and people have different ways of coping, ganito yan, ganyan, ganyan. So, for me, it's really like talking to them na, oh, ito yan, this is the differences. And I like it, yung, yung para bang, we don't label, no, yung mga ganyan. And we are careful to label and blurt out na mga ganito, no? Kasi we know, like tayo, mental health advocates, we know na meron pala siyang differences or meron siyang certain symptoms before or processes before ma-diagnose, ganyan. But other people do not know that, no? Lalo na ngayon, no, in social media, we say, people saying, oh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, pero, hindi naman pala. And I guess yung mga ganitong mga lumalabas, that also takes away the attention from the real issues or from the people who are experiencing this kind of illnesses themselves.
Yeah, and sorry to add to that, labeling, like sometimes we just call people autistic people or schizophrenic or are you crazy or
without really understanding what it means.
Right.
Yeah.
So true. Medyo share ko lang ng konti in relation to that, yung autism, schizophrenic, and other mental health disorders. Growing up, I've been exposed, and I had friends who had autism, and I actually didn't know they had autism. So I just knew that they were quite different from other people. And then I noticed that other people were laughing at them, or other children were laughing at them. But I don't know, it was maybe yung defensive side ko, or parang paano ba? I wanted to protect that friend. So at that time I was like, I don't understand why are they making fun of you? You're like the sweetest person that I know. And then they also don't know at that point na they also have something, but they know that they're different. Sometimes they would just say to me na, well, my mom tells me that I'm a bit special. I go, okay, but yeah, you are special. And what I meant was that in my heart, you are special to me as a friend because you're my friend. Stuff like that. And kaya nakita ko rin yung mga, I'm not sure if you guys know, but I live in Quezon City. So UP Diliman, I used to go there or frequent there. Meron dong person, his name is Zorro. So
Zorro, yeah, we know that.
Yeah. So si Zorro, he walks around and he is wearing a costume that he looks like Zorro, and then he poses like he's Zorro, like that. But people say that he used to be a UP student, that he was really smart, but then he went bonkers. That's what they said. And when people see Zorro, they have mixed feelings about seeing him. Some people are scared. Some people make fun of him. Some people are disgusted. And some people befriend him. So parang, I guess that somehow shows how we treat people with mental health disorders as well. And another thing that I'm gonna share is medyo on the serious side to. Well, my eldest brother, he's diagnosed with ADHD ever since he was a child, but it's a mild ADHD. And of course, he's the first born child in our family, and our parents, I would say that they quite had a hard time accepting it because they know that it's a learning disability, that it implies having difficulties in terms of academics, right? And no parent wants that to happen to their child as much as possible, especially during that time where success means like academic standards, you know.
Yeah.
You get what I mean. But I'm
Yes.
happy that somehow it's changing now, right? So in the during that time, like I also mentioned earlier, medyo spiritual din yung family ko, my parents. So they would pray it out of him somehow. Like they're gonna pray that he's gonna get healed from ADHD, that he would be a normal person right away. So I think that's also a form of stigma in some sense, because we kind of like want to wish away those mental health disorders that we have, instead of really somehow accepting and living with it, so that learning how to cope with it. Because sometimes if you tie up your identity with that particular mental health disorder, then it might really affect you in mostly negative ways.
Yeah, I agree with what you mentioned, Hannah. And like I have friends too who have like ASD, and fortunately they were given the right environment, and to nurture their potential. So like when you say, sometimes when people say people with autism, within this autism spectrum, they say, oh, they do not want to socialize. They have this particular stereotype right away.
Yeah.
When in fact many of them are in the physics department, linguistics, engineering department. They flourish because they were given the right kind of environment, and they were in a community which is inclusive to their difference. And that also reminds me about the movie A Beautiful Mind, John Nash. The brilliant mind of John Nash, who had to experience schizophrenia, but because of the inclusivity of the community, they just allowed him to go back to the university, maybe like Zorro. I mean, go back to the university, attending classes, and then eventually, he continued on and became normalized after. So it's really important that all this, what you mentioned about the stereotype, adding additional social stressor to the person who are already experiencing it, have to be addressed. So but the thing is, like, how do we combine these two? We have this particular stigma. I mean, we need to
Yeah.
diagnose a person, identify them early on, so
Right.
that we would be able to provide the right environment to nurture the potential of the person. But we do not want to stigmatize the person of the condition. So there's this particular diagnosis which can lead to stigma, and at the same time, treating the person, identifying and providing the kind of environment. So,
Right.
like, what do you think, guys? How do we balance the
That's
stigma and the diagnosis and the
that's a good.
treatment?
That's really,
How
yeah.
do you remove the
That's the
stigma, the
discussion.
negativity from, you know, from
Um,
from yeah, from the condition? So yeah, any
but,
thoughts about this?
well, that's a really, yeah, that's our discussion nga. Yung sabi mo, creating the environment. Parang even though you have, let's not, siguro let's not put it in a box na hindi lang yung mga may mental health disorder, pati din yung mga nagsasuffer from, from things like
Bullying.
situational depression, like yung
That's
nangyayari
true.
ngayon with pandemic. Not everyone has a mental illness, pero everyone's going through some kind of anxiety ngayon and depression. I guess, how do we set up that environment na it's okay to be able to express yourself to others? Parang how to create that safe space talaga wherever you are. So, I guess for one thing, yung basic awareness is a good start. Kasi, even though we already did say na it's not about not knowing, parang ma-eliminate natin yung misconception. Kasi, first, natural sa ating tao na kapag we don't understand something, we come up with random things to explain it, just to make sense of it.
Right.
And more often than not, uneducated guesses siya. So, hindi talaga nagiging people. So I guess raising awareness is a very, very, very good start. And it's something na nangyayari na ngayon.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're
Right.
here. Hello po. But yeah, it's something that nangyayari na ngayon. Not just, and I don't know if I have to be sorry to say it, pero it's gotten a lot better. Yung how people treat their mental health has gotten a lot better since nagkaroon ng pandemic. Kasi we were put in that situation talaga na everyone's experiencing the same thing. Anxious. I'm sure some of you had panic attacks, people. We all went through that. It's parang, oh my gosh, what do I do? Pero, and then nagkakaroon, diba, we have experiences like, ano yung tawag na, Zoom fatigue? Things like
Zoom
that.
fatigue.
Oh,
So,
right.
so parang,
Everybody can relate to that.
Oh my God. Parang, everybody's on that same, oh, I have to take care of myself na talaga. So, naglalabasan all of the social media posts on mental health, how to take care of yourself, how to do grounding techniques, and mental health, all of that. Parang, it's a really good start. I mean, what do you guys think? What else is what else could add to that?
Yeah. I also like what Isay mentioned a while ago about treating it as a health. Like, going to it's like going for a routine lab, and they getting all your exams and all that. And if it will be included, and it will just be normalized that it's part of our biological system, your temperature and all that, and you have then it can be normalized, that it's not something really really taboo. Everybody's experiencing, everybody gets sick, everybody have a fever when certain situations arises. We all get stressed out. So yeah, I think it's very important to normalize it.
And I also like na parang choose to take care of yourself. So I guess it's also important, no, for people out there, no, are experiencing this kind of symptoms to self-advocate, no, to be the one kumbaga, put forward into the light what you're experiencing, talk about that. It doesn't have to be parang a webinar. If you start with the family, with your friends, and yun din, it's part of parang information dissemination din na this is like, for example, this is what I'm feeling, no, for example, I have anxiety, so from time to time I have this experience, maybe it stem from this and that, or parang sa pandemic started, no, sa online class, ganyan, so ito yung nararamdaman ko. So baka pag napansin nyo na I'm like this, maybe you can call my attention, or maybe you can help me relax, no, yung ganun ba, that you start then, no, like what Hannah said, no, you are not para bang, when you identify yourself with the illness, no, it becomes you. So, diba, I'm not sure if you are aware, may mga parang nakikita ako kasi in social media na parang I am not my depression, I am not my anxiety, something like that, diba, parang ganun. So it's parang it starts from you then to educate the people about what you're going through. Kasi although maraming researches, although may mga mental health law, hindi pa talaga ganun kadami, or kumbaga ganun ka-widespread yung mga nakakaalam ng mga ganito. And it's really important, like for us, no, like the four of us, mental health advocates, we can start educating, mga ganyan, di ba? Like for us, we're already there, we know this, and then nag-start tayo to spread awareness, like this podcast, no, like what InTouch is doing. And it's also good na ikaw din mismo, you advocate for yourself.
Kind of like had a thought dun sa sinabi mo na express din yung sarili. Parang, I guess that's a good practice siguro in personally for everyone na to be in some way vocal sa nararamdaman mo. Kasi alam niyo naman yung, I don't know if this is the same for everyone, pero minsan parang we don't say out loud something in the fear na of acknowledgement, parang fear of acknowledgement siya, so you don't say it out loud. Pero
Mm.
when you vocalize it, kasi parang nagkakatotoo siya, yung gano'n. Pero if that is the case din talaga, if you really are feeling sad, or if you really are having trouble, and ma-vocalize mo lang siya in some way, it's a good start. Parang
Right.
not just for you, pero for others din na possible na makatulong sa'yo.
Yeah, to talk with people who can help you, friends, networks. Yeah, and also for us also, like when some people just act the way differently, that we do not judge right away, because
Yeah.
we need to put the person into the context. What is the person experiencing at this particular point in time? So the need for empathy, to be in the shoes of another person, is really important, especially these days.
That kind of helps closes yung gap nung hindi alam ng other party kung ano yung nangyayari sa'yo.
Yeah.
And prevents them from making up the scenarios in their head. Kapag alam na talaga, it's best to come from you, so they know yung totoo.
Mhm.
Beneficial for everyone. Once you start becoming honest with yourself, you also start becoming honest with other people. Better communication, better relationships, better self. But at the same time, you can't have better relationships if you won't better yourself. And I totally agree with what Miss Me-Ann said earlier about some people are afraid to declare the negative emotions or feelings that they're truly feeling inside, because they feel like, oh, I'm manifesting this type of negativity in my life. You know, if I declare it, then I'm making it true, stuff like that. Well, that's some sort of like misconception again. Yes, there is some truth to it. I'm not gonna deny that. There's some truth to it, but it's a contextual basis. When it comes to feelings and emotions, honestly, you can't stop the initial feelings that come up, the initial thoughts that come up, but what you can control is what you're going to think in the end, right? That's what they say. And another truth is that, well, I see a therapist and I do read some psychology books. My main takeaway is you can't really fully live life if you don't let yourself experience all types of emotions. And that includes negative emotions. If you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm just a happy person, girl, come on. How would you appreciate happiness then if you have never felt sadness? If you if you say that you're always excited, how would you appreciate that if you never experienced anxiety? Come on, right? That's how you fully appreciate life. And that's how you live life as a human. And all human beings experience all types of emotions, irregardless of your race, irregardless of your culture. The only difference is that we have different triggers, we have different levels and intensities on how we feel these emotions, and of course, different coping mechanisms. And in these differences, we come together. When we talk about these, it somehow creates that connection with other people, like, oh wow,
Discussion.
you experience anxiety. I do too. But this is how I did it, and then they would share. And that's a connection, right? So it makes you feel
We
less lonely.
That's right. We need the network. Very important in resilience and in coping with so many stressors that we are experiencing these days. And it's not just me or you, or we were all in the same boat. So as Hannah mentioned, that there's really a huge task ahead, but having people around us who are supportive, then we can freely open up. We feel that we have a safe space to talk about it. Of course, starting with our own family, with our own friends. So as Miggy mentioned, and Isay a while ago. So yeah.
And there are a lot of communities, diba? There are a lot of groups, like there's the Autism Society of the Philippines. So you can go them there, no? Meron din tayo, like for In Touch, may mga support group. You can always, kumbaga, reach out and ask questions. even for the family members, di ba, we're open to para answering questions like my son is experiencing this or my daughter is feeling this way, may nakikita akong ganitong mga signs or symptoms, then we can always ask questions of even if you're not into the field or even if you don't have family members or friends, para bang just to learn something, no? Because this is parang we're talking about mental health, it's happening all around us. I think important then, no, for those people who have not experienced any mental health or have kumbaga have someone they know na may mental health illness, to learn about it. Para bang, it's parang pag nag-aaral ka, di ba, you want to learn math, English, so parang why not also learn about these kinds of issues and mga ganon, no? Parang bang, you can ask questions, everybody naman are willing to talk about it, no? Yung mga communities that mag-reach out ka. May mapupuntahan kami, para bang library lang din yan, no? Di ba? That you want to go there, tapos meron ka gustong malaman about a certain topic, so you go there and ask questions. So you go to those communities, then, may mga ganito pala. Para bang it's also spreading awareness and being an advocate in a way, no, you're also advocating for those who don't have someone to advocate for them.
And I look forward to the day that this, what we're talking about, will be included in the curriculum, kindergarten, grade school, that it will be normalized like any other subject. We have, what do you call this, values education, that it will be included there, that as early as young, then, because it's not only the kids getting informed about, but the parents, everyone. So, and especially in many communities, like Hannah mentioned a while ago, it's really sad that because of certain belief system, it gets, singled out, or people who are experiencing it are getting ostracized. So how do we deal with it? Start with schools, with our own family, and many of the family. And it's not just about the culture, like Filipino culture or not. There's just this lack of awareness. We tend to label something when we don't know. So, and there's this gossip around this, or all this bullying or whatever. So we need to remove that and really start talking about it, normalizing it, like curriculum, or how do we include it in maternal care, which is very important in mental health, because it affects the brain development of the children, the kids. Yeah.
I'm just so glad that we got to talk about this, because just like any other issues, if we do talk about these things, then it's some sort of like a way to address it as well. So it's like, how can we heal something if we don't even talk about it in the first place? We can. It's
I
the
think
first
this
step of
topic
healing
should,
things.
go on.
First step is acknowledgement.
Yeah, always.
Always.
And just like an update, since I did open up about what happened like with my family and my eldest brother, happy to say that throughout the years, my parents have become more open to mental health. They educated themselves, and like they're more open to talking about mental health, and even with the way that they how should I say, parent us, even though we're basically adults now. And my eldest brother, he has this level of acceptance of his ADHD, and he's doing really well in his career, and everybody in our family is very, very proud of him. So yeah, it's just like a dedication. It's possible that even if you do have some sort of like mental health disorder as well, it's not gonna kind of like hold you back in life to like a very ano ba, other side of the spectrum. There is hope always. It's all about of course so many factors, but there's hope, right? If you surround yourself with the right type of support, again, like Dakila always mentioned in this podcast, and also a level of acceptance. I guess that's the thing about stigma, about anything, right? It's really all about acceptance and understanding, and creating that space of non-judgment about the particular topic. So in this particular case, mental health, and I just wanted to say that there's no health without mental health. you
Yes.
know? Like we
Right.
keep on talking about physical improvements, diet, exercise, or intellectual, how to increase your focus, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But how about your emotional health? How about your mental health? It's also a part of you, right? You cannot just shut it down because it's still you. It's what makes you who you are. It's part of your
Reality.
personality, I
That's
guess.
right.
We are humans. That's how we are. Emotions are part of us na yung emotions eh. No matter what you do, it's going to be there. So, yeah, acknowledgement talaga is the first step. And there is hope, like what you said, Hannah. Like yun nga, yung share mo with your family. People learn. People can learn, can
Yeah.
adapt. So, there's hope for everyone. We're actually starting now. So, that's a
Right.
great thing to think about. Na there's something changing now. Ayun,
Mhm.
with, with what's happening around us. Nagkakaroon na tayo ng sense of what mental health is. Ang value talaga. There's more
Right.
value to it now. So we're learning. Everyone's learning.
Yeah, and each of us goes through the spectrum.
Yep.
Depression spectrum. It could be mild or
Mm.
anxiety within the spectrum. So each one of us, is affected. Our mental health is affected by all the stressors around us.
Mm. Yeah. And kumbaga at one point in your life you will experience these symptoms, no? Even as simple as stress, 'di ba? You have stress in work, in
Burnout.
studies, 'di
Yeah.
ba? Oh, so
Yeah.
it's part of life. And
Yes.
again, kumbaga sabi nga kanina, no, we discuss about normalizing it, acceptance, no? You yourself accepting it, and your family, your friends understanding more about it. And basically nabanggit din ni Dakila earlier yung empathy, no? Acceptance, kindness, no? Na parang bang there's already a lot going on in the world. Let us just be kind to each other and
Yeah.
try and be a friend, no? Not just to someone who's experiencing all of these kinds of symptoms, but also to those who are caring for them. Para bang we also help those who are like the family members, no? We also reach out to them and say, oh, kamusta? Ganyan, no? Just, all around kindness going around. Parang ganyan ba?
It's true. And I guess I kind of like want to address then yung other extreme naman of mental health awareness, because I did notice na there are some people who would say na, hey, you know what, I have depression, you should understand me. May mga ganun na mga
I know
cases,
the
to be
term
honest,
weaponizing
right?
mental health. That
Oh,
was the
there you
term.
go.
Weaponizing
That's a
mental
good term.
health.
That's the first time I've come across such a term. But yeah, so I adapt that. Weaponizing your
Weaponizing mental health.
okay, yeah, weaponizing mental health. I guess what we're trying to put out here as a podcast is, balancing of things, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be aware, but at the same time, you don't weaponize your mental health, because that's
Think
that's
also of
extreme.
others.
That's
Yeah,
also
yeah,
that contributes to the stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
please don't.
exactly. Yeah. It's been a tough journey, I guess, for people who are advocating for mental health, and even kahit yung mga listeners natin, I don't know if you could relate with me. Yung mga nagsistart sa families nila na parang, I feel unheard, but I know these things, and you feel disheartened, you feel discouraged na maybe I should just give up, educating them about mental health or about emotional awareness. My heart goes out to you. I want to validate the feeling of tiredness, the discouragement, but again, there is hope. It's okay to take some rest, if that would make you feel better or feel at peace. But then, look at the big picture as well. The end goal will be so much beneficial. Na one day, hopefully, maybe it's not you then that they would get educated by. So don't feel all the burden yourself, because they will come across other people in their lives who might get into their heart so much more. But at least you did your best, and that's what matters. So, and
And
you,
keep in touch
listener,
with
if
In
you,
Touch. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
listener,
we
if
have many
you reach,
supports and advocates. Yeah, supporting you.
volunteer with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
Yeah, you can get started there,
Come
you know,
join the fun.
even right, even if
Yeah.
you feel like you don't know much about mental health, you will learn a lot here. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid, you know, if this is really your first time thinking about mental health and you reach up until this point, that says a lot. I mean, it's almost an hour, I guess, into this podcast. So don't be afraid, because I guess mental health advocates don't fight. I mean, they really like to educate other people. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's one way, of destigmatizing mental health, to really go out there, learn about it, get more information,
Or,
and then
yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah, but
Or, you
no,
know,
no pressure.
Yeah.
yeah, even
No.
volunteerism is just one way of learning, of getting into what mental health is about for others. So yeah, um, you know, try to learn more. If not from others, so many resources online. There's so much we can learn ngayon, modern times. You can almost Google everything. Oh my gosh.
That's right.
So
YouTube
parang
everything.
if whatever your curiosity is or you're
Mhm.
uncomfortable about asking others, search for it. Just try to learn and yeah, go from there. One step at a time. So I guess yeah, that's quite a topic we have. I'm sure yeah, the hour is not enough talaga. There's more we could talk about, but I guess yeah. What do you guys have? I guess last pabaon sa ating mga viewers.
I guess for
um,
me, I'm just echoing lang, what we always say, that if you're experiencing these kinds of symptoms, there is help, and it's not a sign of weakness
That's
to
right.
seek help and to ask for assistance. And it's better if you can reach out beforehand, like a first sign of feeling stress, of first sign of anxiety, of worries, reach out already, no, before it becomes um, unmanageable. So, kumbaga, at first, parang kumbaga lagnat pa lang, we already ask for questions and consult with a professional, and be willing then, no, to help yourself. It's important that you also help yourself, be willing to try other things, what would work for you, find out what wouldn't work for you, so that you know, kumbaga at the end of the day, you will be able to do it on your own, and that would also build self-confidence in your capability to handle and manage your own issues.
Very well said, Isai. And I'd also like to add that if you're feeling uncomfortable in sharing it, you feel free to call In Touch. There are counselors there ready to help you, and there are professionals there that you can get in touch with. So feel free to check the website and yeah, talk about it. Yeah.
and as for me, for especially younger people and maybe a bit close to my age as well, or anyone actually, don't be afraid to start looking inside yourself. I know sometimes we are faced, especially when we're alone, we are forced to look at what we're truly feeling. But you know, those voices or those feelings that you have been shutting out for such a long time, it's maybe about time to slowly take a peek into it. And it can be overwhelming, but I'm here to say that there is still a door or a window of light that you could see. And you don't have to run towards it. You can take it slow. That's the thing. Because if you take things slowly, then that's how it becomes somehow a bit less overwhelming. And again,
Right.
talk about it with other people, because yung thought na maybe you're just alone with what you're feeling,
Yeah.
maybe not so much. There's so many people in this world, and and so many people who lived in this world na you would realize kahit na magkaiba rin kayo ng time, if you start reading books about what their experiences are, they have felt the same way as you did, maybe. Because that's a human thing. So somebody can always relate to your story and what you're experiencing. And that somehow creates that safe space, a little bit of a safe space somehow, that you
Yeah.
can talk it out.
Talk it out or express it through writing or maybe a podcast or an art, just try to express it.
Right.
And,
Mm.
yeah, it's normal to feel different, sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, I guess last pabaon from me. Um, mental health, stigma on mental health can be a really big thing when you think about it. And it may seem like kailangan natin mag-raise ng campaigns, awareness, and all of that. Yeah, that's helpful, that's true. But it can also start, it also really just starts from the self. Like, start from me, or start from you. We can always start really, really small. Like this one thing that I've been taught by someone, it's a big thing, pero if you're gonna move the ball forward, you start small. Parang snowball effect. It
Right.
always, it comes like that. Parang you can start with yourself, and can be as simple as just vocalizing something that you feel or doesn't sit well with you. Just acknowledge it, and it's fine. It's really fine. Because, humans, we just feel it's natural for us to feel certain things. Maybe not as intense as others, pero that's a fact. It's a part of us. Acknowledge it lang and then see how else you can cope with it. What else will help you? Like what they said. Start small lang. Just acknowledgement is fine. And somewhere along the way, you will learn other ways to deal with it. You will learn how better to cope with it. Yeah, from there lang, start small. Just
Beautifully said, Miggy.
it's fine. So yeah, I hope you guys naubos nyo naman yung mga drinks nyo by now and di siya lumamig during this conversation. I still have some on my cup kasi, it's a very interesting topic we have been discussing.
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for sharing. It's amazing.
I hope you guys have, thanks so much talaga, Dakila, Isay, and Hannah for this
Isay,
conversation. It was
Yes.
something talaga.
Thank you so much, ladies. Really nice insights from you. So I hope the listeners were also able to learn a lot from that. And hopefully you're still okay, listener.
I hope they're not sleeping. No.
So to our listeners, so thank you then guys, no, Hannah, me and Dakila for sharing that table with with me this morning. So thank you also for all our sharings, for the trust, and to our listeners. Thank you for being with us. No, sabi nga ni Hannah, if you reach this point, thank you for joining us this morning. And I guess we will invite you for our next episode, which will be next Sunday. I hope you
Time.
can join us. Can join us again next week for another topic on mental health. And I hope that you will be able to learn some more things about mental health and some other issues that is, somehow plaguing the world around us in this time.
Good morning, everyone. Goodbye.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bye.
Bye.